Hello and welcome back to part 2 on the 59 Cadillac. We're still waiting for some floor panel bits to turn up, but we are cracking on now with the bodywork. When it first came in, in part 1 you saw that we identified some issues on the passenger side rear quarter panel, so the offside in this case. So that's going to get taken back to bare metal, which we've started, so we'll go around to that in a minute. But once we got up onto the scissor lift here, we were able to... Bodywork always looks different from a different angle, and you see a few little things that we didn't initially see. And there's a couple of very small blisters along the rear quarter panel wheel well. So we contacted the customer and said, look, you go to this length, it's probably best checking what's underneath these two small blisters. And there were small blisters. I think actually we've got some video footage that will overlay on top of it just to show what we originally saw. So we started to grind it out. If you follow us back here, it's the gift that keeps on giving. So the wheel off and the wheel housing skirt off. And just for an idea, we had a small blister here and we had a small blister here. Once we grind back and take all the filler work out, you can see the glorious repairs that were underneath. Now both of these panels here, we've got pot rivets. They've both got rivets in them, and then they've been brazed over the top or soft soldered. The fact there's rivets there needs to be something behind there. So guaranteed that when we take these patches off, we're going to find all the original rot underneath there. And it's gone all the way along this seam. This section here is just backfilled with fiberglass. So it's now gone through the outer panel and the inner panel. It could have gone the other way around, who knows? Point is, it's all gone now. So all of this is really quite unpleasant. So we will end up having to fabricate an entire panel and getting that stitched in there. And this was the good side. This was nice and straight. And the panel work, sorry, the paint work on here is actually really good. There's none of the issues that we've found before. Luke's been really busy. And there's a load of chrome work on here, so all of that's been coming off. The rear's all stripped down. Again, we've got some video footage that will overlay on there. If we now go on the hammer for a long walk around the beast. With all this bad news, just to cheer the customer up a little bit, we've taken these off already, just to give them a little visual. And we're amazed, actually, the difference that makes to the car. Straight away, it's more sleek, and it just looks so much better. Without these big horn things sticking on like they were there. So yeah, a little pick me up for the customer after delivering a ton of unpleasant news to him. But back to task. This side we have started getting all the paint off. So this is just a paint stripper. A couple of things we found here is this is the area that on the part 1 video had all the movement in the paint, and you could see issues underneath there. And all of this is the original, this is all the original silver that the car was. It left the factory in the silver. So there's been a repair that's gone on here, but there's not primer in every area here. So we're not quite sure what's happened. I don't know if it's a scratch repair or what, but something's gone on, and there's an area here where the paint is different to further down here. So irrelevant, it's all coming off, but the good news is there's no corrosion or damage there. There's no corrosion or damage there. However, down here again, it probably looks pretty horrific on camera. It's worse in the flesh. In some ways, the other side is better because it's largely original. This, again, is all riveted into position and then brazed over the top. But I don't know how well this will come through on film, but nothing's been shaped here. It's just had the living daylights beating out of it with a ball peen hammer. There was not a single return or formed edge anywhere. It's just a beaten up mess on there. And again, because we've got the rivets, we know when we take this off, we'll have the corroded original underneath there. And all this is deformed and is just a mess. I've got the corrosion coming through the sill here. So again, this side, much like the other, we've got a large section in here to fabricate and let in. So whilst the floor pan repair panels haven't turned up yet, we have found plenty of work to be cracking on with in the meantime, and we do have some of the panels anyway, as we said, the customer did have some of the panels as a matter of course. So loads to be cracking on with, so we best get to it. Good. Right, as you've just seen, Bo's been really busy getting all the paint off, so we'll do some overlay, lovely bare metal wing, if you ignore that bit which isn't so lovely. So once it's all stripped back and it's bare metal, we put it into the Novol Classic Car Bodywork primer. It's a holding primer, it's non-hygroscopic, it's not epoxy based, it's water resin based. And that protects this whole panel from oxidizing. We can weld through this, so it's a weld through primer as well. So it's a really great holding property, really awesome product, as always, from Novol. So we've now got all the paint off, so we know where all the issues are. This is now held in this state, so we can carry on now, cut all this out, get the repairs done without the outside oxidizing. We've also got, which if you come around here, Lou, I'll just open this up, see into the dark depths. We've now got some panel works turned up. So we have got front floor pans, we've got rear floor pans, and floor braces. So we can get really digging into this now and pushing forward with some metal work. We've got rear seat pans coming in from the States, hopefully in the next few weeks. But in the meantime, we've got plenty to be cracking on with. All right, winter's well on its way. It's bloody freezing here today. Still waiting on some panels, so we're going to get ahead now. Start fabricating up some bits for the rear panel on the wheel arches. We're going to start that by templating. This is the wheel spat that goes in, and I've got the corrosion all the way along here. So we're going to start by just making a template around the outside of this, which will give us a former or a guide as to where we need to be. So all we do is nice little apply. Magic Sharpie pen as always, and we just want that shape. That's all we're after. We don't need any other details. That's just our dimensions now for the return lip, so we can get this cut out, mark this up as a Cadillac, 59 Cadillac rear tool, and we've got something to form to and shape to. Okay, as you've just seen, we've been making up some bits, and we're focusing entirely at the minute on this quarter panel. So what we've done is, following off the back of our plywood template, we've got the basic repair panel, which is going to go in there, something like that. At the minute, obviously, it's a flat piece of steel. Now, up here is pretty flat. There's a very slight curvature in it, which will run through the wheel. This has got far more curvature in it, but we're making this up out of a couple of pieces. So it will bend to follow the channel that we've made, but again, this will get passed through the wheel just to give it some shape before we go there. So this is what we cut up off of our template. We've offered this up. I'll overlay this again as normal. We've offered this up to the wheel spat because to copy this is a waste of time. I mean, there's so many bits. There's nothing original there really to tell us where we're at. So what we're doing is making this fit the wheel spat, because that's the bit that's going to matter once it's all back together again. As you've seen, this fits the wheel spat pretty well. And then that will go into there. So what we're going to do now, sorry Lou, was I a bit quick for you there? So what we're going to do now is head back into the metal room. And basically what we're going to do is lay this, a bit cack-handed on my knee here, lay this into position, get a couple of tacks to hold it, knock it into shape, get it where we need it to be, and then we'll just weld that whole piece in there, so we end up with that. This little corner piece in here, this side at the minute, actually, that looks like a decent piece of steel in there. So we've got this return edge going onto that, which will probably make that up as a standalone piece in there. But yeah, the idea is to get this as one piece panel, to go into here, make sure it fits by overlaying it onto the original C, make sure we've got the right contours, cut this out, and then we'll deal with all these nasties in here, or the inner, once the outer is cut out. So yeah, back in the metal room now, get all this lined up, tacked up, welded up, ready to go onto the panel. Okay, so as you've seen, we've made up now the basic Wheelarch repair panel. So yeah, as we sort of went through on the bench during that last little bit, the wheel spat, this is kind of the, well, this is the important piece, because you can see we're kind of all over the place here. We've got big gaps, even though it's lining up at the bottom, and because this is so played around with and messed around with, and we're cutting this out anyway, to a point, this doesn't matter. This is what's given us the shape. So we've built the repair panel, as I've already shown you, we've built the repair panel around this spat to make sure that we get a nice tidy fit in here. So we've offered that up, we've trial fitted it on the bench, and that's the shape that we need and where we need it to be. So next step that we're going to run through is we'll get this all lined up onto the car and marked out. So we'll template around the outside of here. We'll cut within the template line. Remove all of this, get this out of the way. Make sure we're still getting good fitment in here. And then we'll set about on all the nasties, which we're going to uncover from underneath. So moving on with that stage now. Okay, as we said before, the gift that keeps on giving. So with the outer panel cut out on the rear quarter panel, we can see a lovely little array of expanding foams wedged in there. The original panel there, corroded. And then down here, we've got one panel there, which is a mess. The back of the sill there is missing. And then if we come inside here, we've got all of that is one aluminium patch. There we go, screwed there, which is screwed over that aluminium patch. So there's a lot of work to do on the inner arch and the back of the sill on this side. And then if I just swing round, we have yet more expanding foam and aluminium screwed in patches. So we'll set about now getting these unscrewed, getting here with a wire wheel and trying to assess exactly what we've got going on to make the inner ready to accept the new outer. Okay, as you've just seen how easy that was to pull off those aluminium repairs and reveal the horrors that were lying beneath it. It is quite alarming how some of this stuff gets repaired. That there is 2 sheets of thin aluminium plate that had all oxidised and corroded, but had been riveted and screwed over the inner wheel well. That's the back of the seat pan down there, and the inner wheel well. So there's no strength here whatsoever. This area here should be all closed off. This is the back of the sill, as it were. The car sits on a chassis, so the body's kind of a protective, decorative layer, but there needs to be strength and integrity to it, and as you can see, there is absolutely none in this rear corner. So what we're going to have to do is make up a new inner, which comes down here and backs into here. And then we've got to make up a new inner, which comes down into here and meets up with our new floor pan, which we've got going in the back there. What we've also got, which probably won't come out too clear, I don't know, we'll zoom in and have a quick look. Inside here there's a section here, which is quite a broad section that comes from the front of the quarter panel and runs all the way back, come out here now, to here. So this section here is the inner wheel arch, which comes in, and at this point here it wraps around to here. And then you've got a section here, which is from sort of here, internally comes up to around here, which comes from the back of the, or from the B post, back of the door shut, comes all the way across and joins onto here, which I'm guessing just the sheer size of the panel is basically a reinforcer to keep this nice and taut in here. So plenty of work to be cracking on with, and we use the minimum amount of rivets possible in this repair, I think. Okay, as we can see, it's all a bit of a mess in here, and we're kind of running out of datum points, really. So what we've done is we have just screwed in position our outer repair panel. Knew I should have turned that off. So, as we've said all along, we're kind of building this repair section around the wheel spat, because that needs to fit. If that fits, everything else on the outside fits where it needs to fit. I know what I mean. So what we've done is we've screwed this into place to make sure from the outside everything is where it needs to be and everything fits as it should do. What we can then do is move inside and deal with all these little horrors that are up in here. So the triangulated section, which I'll cut to in a minute, that's actually a good genuine piece. So, and that's a separate piece. So we'll unpick that, and then we can start building up this, the outer inner wheel well, we can repair, cut all this out, refabricate a new section into there, and then make this section into here as well. Once all that's done, we're ready to get the floor pan sorted out. And then this inner structure is all done. And if we can do that, keeping the outer panel where it's fixed, we know that everything's good. So that's the plan, we'll crack on. Okay, whenever doing a job like this, it's not trial and error, but you've got to adapt and kind of move with what you find. So we set out with a plan. The plan's gone out the window days ago now. There's so much rotten and missing up inside here, which you've seen as we've gone along. So what we're doing is kind of making up panels as we go, working out the best way and when to get them in. So we started to rough out the wheel well section here, which will go in. It still needs some work yet, but we've got to that point. It's like, well, now we need more datum points which are missing. So at that point, like a little Blue Peter special, here's one we made earlier. That's the framework that will go back into here. Don't know if you're catching all this, Lou. That will go in there, something like that, which will then accept this factory piece. You can see here, don't know how that comes out. We've got this panel here. This is one panel there. And all of this, that's the outer wheel arch panel. And that's the inner framework. So the inner framework there is what we're replacing here. So all this will get unpicked, do away with that. We just want that flat, recessed piece there. So we'll end up having this coming back into there. That piece can then go back onto there. But once we've done that, we need to make sure that all this here is in its right place. So we spend a little bit of time just making up this inner wheel arch panel here, which you can imagine this on the reverse. This will end up going into there. That will be into there. That will be into there. Once we've got that structure in place, we can then go all the way back to refining this, to getting this in where it needs to be with the mounts for the wheel spat. So we'll see the inner wheel arch and the outer inner wheel arch in position where they need to be. Then we can work out this little section here. Then we're onto the floor pan underneath. So got to be flexible and adapt with the shitstorm that you find, I guess. This was going to be quite a quick video. We naively thought that part 2 of the Cadillac video would be us whizzing around doing all the metalwork. Yeah, it's been a challenge, but this one piece that we thought was good, yeah, it's not. Once we look into it around the back here, start to clean it up, all of this flange here is missing. There's a load of filler in it. Realistically, it's actually no better than the rest of it, so we just made up a new one. So we're cracking on. We've got the bulk of the inner is now in. Keep offering up the spat bolt and everything in there fixed. We've got the new triangulated corner piece in here. I don't know if you can tiptoe through my carnage here, Lou, and get a shot up inside here. But we've got the first section of the inner is now in. So what we're doing now is this section here is a bit crusty and it's a bit weird. A lot of the construction here is the inner fender, I guess, doesn't have a return on it. It's a flat sheet, and then there's a triangulated angled section in here, rather, spot welded to that flat, and then spot welded to that flat, making up a joiner piece. So we have this, which from the inside we've already unpicked, so this will come out of here in a minute. That will go into there, and then this section here will lay over the top of that, like it does on here. So we're building this structure in now, because we know that everything from here round is where it needs to be and doing the job that it needs to do. And then on the outside here, we've got this piece here, which kind of spreads through down to there. So we've got this roughed out. We'll get this trimmed back, cleaned back, and then that will be into there. Which will just leave this. It's a bit of a weird section here. This kind of comes round and makes up the return lip. So this is all kind of guesswork because there's just nothing here. So we'll make a section to here, going around to here to accept the outer panel. And we're going to call time on the video, I think, once we've got this done, because again, as we edit, as we go along, we're almost at half an hour already just getting this section in. So we'll get this section finalised and finished. This is all nice and strong now. I've got proper metal, no rivets, lots of welding. We'll carry on, we'll finish this section off, and we'll come back at the end, conclude this video. A half hour, 40-minute thread on just doing this section. So, yep, we'll carry on. Okay, so all that section is now in. That's nice and strong in there now. Look, that's rock solid. Nice bit of tin. Further back, however, as I said in the previous clip, we've got this section here to make up. This does wrap round there, and then this is quite a complex, actually. It's a panel that comes up, crosses over, and drops down to form the return flange for this part of the inner wing. But then it also wraps around onto there, drops down, wraps around, and comes down here. All in one piece, which we've managed to ascertain from what's left of the other side. So we'll start to unpick now the aluminium bits that were riveted over there. And unfortunately, as you can see here, we have more expanding foam. So it's just keep on going. Okay, with all the expanding foam dug out, we can see the original inner rear down there is mostly okay, actually. It's all damaged at the end here. It's been packed full of expanding foam to hold structure, to hide the rotten chaos at the end there. So there's that, all dug out and sat on the floor. So as we're digging out now, we move further and into the boot. where we find some more joys. So we peel back the lovely patterned wheel well cover. Get all that out the way for now. Over there. And, oh look, some more fresh air. So, yeah, we're going to keep on going, here we have some more of the previous builder's favourite aluminium. Just, again, wafer thin sheet. So we'll get all of this out. We're going to focus on getting this corner here all built so we can get the outer Wheelarch panel on there, because we do have to call time on this video eventually. So we're going to get this corner down here sorted out, get the outer panel done, and then we'll move on to all of this section, moving around to the other section, which will be a repeat of this side obviously. So that'll be coming up, sort of sped up in the next video, but we need to get on with the floors as well. So we'll get this corner sorted out, finished up into metal. Okay, moving forward, we've made up this end piece here, got that spotted into place. The joining flange here is recessed at this point, so although it's an overlapping join there, that's level all the way through. So that's in there now, ready to accept the outer panel. What we've done here, as we always do, is all the internal areas. There's a Wheelarch repair panel down there. We've got everything coated now in the Novol Classic Car Epoxy. So that's curing, and then obviously we've left this area here bare, because that will get weld through zinc on it. The epoxy is awesome, but you can't weld through it. So that's the joining line there that this will be spot welded. So once this is all cured, we'll basically offer the repair section up and trim it to this line here and get that butt welded in, and that'll be one Wheelarch repair section completed. Okay, here we go. We're going to call time on this at this point with the Cadillac. We could go on for hours and hours and hours. It's gone in pretty nice. So this is all the outer panel is now in. There's still a little bit of work to do. I've still got to stitch it across the bottom here, and we've got to spot weld it along this return flange, but it's meeting up and it's nice. I will get in the back and dolly some of this out. It is pretty damn good, I must admit, for, I mean, such a long expanse. It has gone in nice. All I've done is lineage back the welds because we wanted to get this video done for Saturday. But Monday, we'll be in there with the long arms, hammer and dolly, and just dress this up a little bit. Doesn't need much, we're nearly there. All the inside is done, as we showed you just earlier, up until the inner arch. We'll move that in when we do the floor. And the same with the boot, really. We've got this area at the back here just to sort out. But again, that kind of ties in with the boot, or the boot floor, rather. But I'm sitting here with this because it all lines up. I've got no latches and catches in here yet, but it all sits in there nice. We drop that down for the gap. That sits in and ties in really well. Shape's all good. We've got the rubbers to go in there, which will obviously buffer that. Pull this back out here again. So shape's all good. You can probably see here we're a little bit, the new panel is low compared to the old panel, but this is also beaten that, as we've said all along, we're building it to the spat. So it lines up nice with the spat. And we'll pull and dress this panel down so that's all uniform. So yeah, there we go. It's all metal. It's all nice and solid. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for enduring with us. Customer, you can now take a deep breath and go and have a nice cup of tea. And we'll catch you next week for some more. I don't know what we've got next week. We've got so many things on the go. I'm not sure what we're going to put out next week. But please tune in and find out what we decide on.